I've shared Manpreet's article. I think most of you may have got it. So the format is as follows. The first part, that is from 7:30 till about 8:10. We will have the lead speaker and a couple of remarks. This will be recorded. Later from 8:10 onwards, there's a second link. I'm sorry about this. As I said, we will do better next time. That will be for the discussion as long as people are able to join and wait. So that's the broad kind of format, ground rules. Requesting all of you to put your phones in silent. And if you can, please mute yourself. And if you raise your hand, you will be recognized. I'll be doing the steering and you can make your remarks. But as I said, I'm putting my own phone on silent. The first set of remarks will be the lead speaker for today, which is Manpreet Sethi. And just as background, I've spoken to each of you, differently, bilaterally and otherwise, after Op Sindoor and whatever has appeared in the public domain. One of the sort of strands which I felt we could perhaps focus on was the nuclear one. And the background is as follows. We are aware that the ceasefire was announced in a very dramatic way. 5 p.m. Saturday Indian time. And the US president had clearly announced it earlier. And later in that White House press conference. Hi, Mohan, please join.
Thank you.
Mohan Guruswamy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mohan, you there?
Okay. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm
as I
here.
said, in the White House press conference that President Trump had done on the 12th of May, he asserted that he had prevented the India-Pakistan conflict from going nuclear. And I sort of went through that fairly carefully, and the word nuclear has been used more than once. So I thought this is something that we might try and unpack to the extent that we are able to. And as I said, there are many things we do not know. In a different context, I said this reminded me of May 1990. Most of you in this group are aware of the May 1990 crisis and the Bob Gates visit when then Senior Bush sent him. And one of the question marks again is that, I did some reading around this at that time and later. Ambassador Gates went to Pakistan. Mohan, can you mute yourself? Mohan?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, just to back up, that May 1990 was also a very odd kind of nuclear crisis that was averted, meaning that Bob Gates rushes to Pakistan and picks up whatever intelligence he gets from there. Comes to India, Mr. VP Singh is the Prime Minister. And from all accounts, I even recall speaking to the chiefs at that time. I recall speaking to two of the chiefs who were retired at that time. And there was no anxiety that there was any nuclear crisis. So what I'm driving towards is to say that there is something happening on the America-Pakistan, axis in terms of their communication. And that perhaps has not been totally conveyed to India, or India is not aware. This is May 1990. Is there something similar in May 2025? That's one of the questions I thought I would leave here for our group. And the second, of course, is that in India, there is now a certain kind of assumption that Prime Minister Modi said this, we will not succumb to nuclear blackmail, and various other sort of, statements have been made. I am a little sort of a question mark on this, that has our deterrence become more brittle or has it become more stable? Manpreet has just argued in her piece that Pakistan's nuclear bluff has been called. So these are some of the areas, as I said, I don't think we need to arrive at any definitive conclusions. But the order would be as follows, that I'd request Manpreet to make opening remarks. And then I'd request Admiral Prakash and Admiral Menon if they want to weigh in the first round. If not, we'll take it into the second iteration. On that note, I'll request all of you to mute. Manpreet, you can go. Are you okay with 10-12 minutes, Manpreet?
Yes, certainly, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting this together.
I mute myself and you can start.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And thank you for putting this together so quickly and sort of getting me to think deeply about the nuclear issue a little bit. In fact, that's what prompted me to write this article. And I just did it yesterday, and India Today was happy to sort of take it up right away. But basically, my argument here is we all understand that Pakistan resorts to nuclear rhetoric the moment a crisis breaks out between India and Pakistan. They are the first ones to call attention to their nuclear weapons. They like to sort of cry nuclear wolf. And over a period of time, India has seen through this playbook. And I think we have been arguing for a long period of time that the space exists for a conventional war, despite the rhetoric that we hear, the projection of the low threshold that we see. And we saw it this time also. The moment the crisis started, and earlier the attempt was to say it's a false flag operation. Then they said, okay, let's do a joint investigation with a neutral party and try to find out what exactly happened. But once India made it clear that we are going to identify, track, and punish those behind the Pahalgam attack, we saw then the nuclear saber-rattling start. So the Pakistani railway minister was the first one to make this noise about there will be a nuclear there is a nuclear angle to the region. Pakistan tested 2 missiles while the whole crisis period was on. And then, of course, Pakistan's defense minister himself said that the threat is clear and present after India had done the first strikes on the terrorist targets. But that was the noise that was coming out from there. So basically 3 nuclear dimensions that I want to highlight in the way this whole exercise operation has played out. Firstly, I think Pakistan's ability to conduct nuclear blackmail has been progressively eroded by how India has conducted itself in the past terrorist attacks as well. So with Uri, we did a little bit of just going across the line of control. With Balakot, we went across the international border and did airstrikes. And with this one, it was literally deep into Pakistan and into areas that we thought we would not touch. Even in our war games, sir, you would all remember, there's a red line in our own mind about what you can do in the first instance. And I think some of those were defied. And by doing that, what India has managed to do is to defy the space threshold. The fact that Pakistan said that the moment you enter my territory, your boots are on the ground, I'm going to be able to use my nuclear weapons. That space threshold, India has defied in the manner in which the attacks have taken place. The second dimension that I want to highlight is the fact that India could do this is because it had, over a period of time, built up precision instruments that were capable of undertaking calibrated strikes. So after our learning from Kargil and Op Parakram, the understanding was that the kind of full-scale mobilization that we did is not going to get too many benefits. So therefore, using instruments that would enable you to do quick escalation and de-escalation is what the focus was on. And since India built those kinds of instruments over a period of time, it has managed to do what I call in my article, salami slicing of another kind. It's not salami slicing of the territory, but of the Pakistani assets and infrastructure, which are used to inflict damage upon India. And by doing the actions in this manner, India has managed then to circumvent the military threshold that Pakistan always holds up. So the spatial threshold and the military threshold is what we've managed to sort of erode. And my third aspect on this is that India's no first use has actually given us the space to be able to do this. Had we also had a first use doctrine, you would be putting that, Pakistan in a more panicking mode about if he doesn't use his weapons, he's going to lose them to an Indian attack. And by putting the onus of escalation on Pakistan, we've created that space which we've been able to utilize then to conduct the kind of strikes that we've done. So by consciously staying away from posing an existential threat to Pakistan's nuclear weapons, I think that space gets created that has been used. Now, going further from here, I think there are 3 possible things that Pakistan could do, because what we are forcing him to do is to go back to taking a relook at his own nuclear strategy, which was essentially built on the idea that it could act as a shield to carry on acts of terrorism, while India's conventional hand would be blocked because of the threat of nuclear weapons. So if we've managed to sort of put some chinks in the armor there, then there are three things that Pakistan could do going into the future. One, of course, is shoring up its conventional military capability. Whatever might be the projection at the nuclear level, I think the understanding that Pakistan also has is that the war will be fought at the conventional level. So therefore, building up more of its conventional capability with its all-weather friends, which have shown out very nicely now. So that will happen. The other thing is it could double down on its existing nuclear strategy and adopt even more risky approaches. So currently, if he's gone from TNWs to 0 kilometer range, being even more provocative in times of crisis, in order to then be able to cry nuclear wolf to the friends that he has elsewhere, because India has seen through that particular farce. The third thing that it could do is to build peace with India, which is the least possible. And I think it could rather be a combination of the first two that I've spoken about, where it builds up its conventional capability and at the same time tries to make its nuclear strategy even more risky. So for us then, I think the answer has to be in building credibility of our deterrence at all levels. The Prime Minister said every act of terror will be seen as an act of war. I think that is going to be problematic. It's like, again, the problem that comes with red lines, because then you don't know which red line is okay and which is not. But nevertheless, I think if we are going to be in a neighborhood with the kind of terrorism activity that we are seeing, no change in Pakistani behavior, then all that we can do is to build our own immunity, which means better border fencing, better intelligence, counter-terrorism, plus building conventional and nuclear deterrence capabilities. I'll stop here, sir, and really look forward to the other views that are from all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Manpreet. I think that was a concise kind of summary of options and what might unfold in the near future. I'll request Admiral Prakash, sir, you okay to go now? And then Raja, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So will you please unmute and mute yourself, Manpreet? And yeah, they're all set. Arun, sir, all yours.
Okay. Uday, thanks for setting this up at short notice. We'll forgive your technical trespasses. So Manpreet has been a very stout upholder of India's nuclear doctrine, and she has implicit faith in our NFU, etc. And we can't disagree with her. But the red lines that we keep talking about are not stated anywhere. They are just kid-wise. I think he mentioned them at some place about space, political, economic, and military red lines, and we've sort of worked them up and worked them into our calculus. But the point is that how else would you like Pakistan to act? If you were in Pakistan's shoes and you were faced with a conventionally superior, much bigger economically, militarily adversary, then you would also keep rattling the nuclear saber at every opportunity. So I think one can't fault them on that. But the problem here is that there can be a time when, if you push Pakistan into a corner, for example, cold start, etc., and you do actually gain conventional. I mean, we've established the fact that there is space for conventional warfare below the nuclear overhang or whatever terminology you use. So in pursuit of that kind of thing, if you do push Pakistan into a corner, then what is to stop Pakistan from using tactical nuclear weapons? They've got an NCA. I'm not sure how effective that NCA is. Notionally, it is the Prime Minister who's got the football or switch or whatever it is. But knowing their setup, I don't know whether it's the army chief or the Prime Minister who will actually push the button. And it is the worst thing that can happen is to have the army controlling nuclear weapons, because army is involved in conventional warfare. And if conventional warfare doesn't go too well for the army, then it's quite possible for a hot-headed general or somebody to go nuclear. Now, the point here is that by insisting over and over again that, they're bluffing and they'll never do this, the point is that they've got tactical nuclear weapons in all three dimensions. I don't know whether they put them on ships and submarines. Then the fact is that our staff college, our war colleges don't even make any mention of deterrence breakdown. So I find that our young people, I mean, Manpreet goes and gives lectures, perhaps their academic. Bharat Karnat speaks to them, and he's probably talking about megatons and so on. Are we preparing our middle level military leadership to face deterrence breakdown? If a hot-headed Pakistani, artillery battery commander or somebody lets loose a small tactical missile, are we prepared for it? So I think we should talk about it. We can't just keep ignoring it. Yes, salami slicing. We can do that, but once again, we have to keep the possibility of deterrence breakdown in mind. It could happen if they are pushed into a corner. If we are, if we, apart from the red lines, if we do, what else would you expect a Pakistani general or admiral to do if his frigate or submarine is carrying a Babur missile and he can target one of our units out at sea? It's quite a safe thing for him to do. So I think we need to prepare ourselves for that. The other issue is that who is on our side? This business of nuclear leak, the myth about IA, the American Energy Department aircraft landing in Pakistan and monitoring radiation leaks, etc. Who has spread this myth, and why? And if it's from our side, then why? What's the point? What are they thinking? What are they smoking? I think we need to think about all these things. Missile tests, of course, they've been signaling, and once again, we should put ourselves in the shoes of Pakistani generals. So they will do all this, and we should be prepared for all that, and keep bolstering our conventional capability, and hope that sanity will prevail on the other side. Over to you, Raja sir.
Raja sir, you'll unmute yourself. Thanks, Arun sir. I'll get Admiral Menon. Unmute.
Yeah, okay, I'm unmuted. My granddaughter did it. I notice that between 2000 and 2025, the Pakistanis have attacked us something like 18 times. And these 18 attacks, have started after they became a nuclear power. And it seems to me that they have a very clear-headed strategy. Their strategy is to cause us enough pain so as to force us to reopen the conversation about Kashmir. That is their national security strategy. Now, I have heard a lot of comments as a result of Operation Sindoor that we are not going to be taken in by their strategy. But I have heard no mention about what is our strategy. I'm careful to see that Manpreet made this comment saying that where are the Pakistani red lines? I don't think the Pakistani red lines will become clearer than they already are. They have said very clearly what the red lines are. I think it is economic strangulation, the destruction of the Pakistani Air Force, considerable loss of territory, to which they have added a fourth, which is that if we attack a nuclear establishment. I think, Arun, you were with me when we had these war games. Did you participate in these war games? Well, for what it's worth,
The Colombo one, sir.
yeah, we played 4 war games under the supervision of the Americans, Naval Postgraduate School, in 4 different locations spread out over 2 years. And we had the full cooperation of the senior Pakistani servicemen and diplomats in this game. It was India versus Pakistan. And the object of the game was to find out where Pakistan's nuclear threshold lies. it would have been in Pakistan's interest at those games to indicate that the thresholds are very low. But I may be dropping a bomb here, but these 4 games indicated that, in fact, their thresholds are fairly robust. In fact, they were so robust that the Americans kept pushing the Pakistanis to find out where exactly is the threshold when it crossed what was seemingly perceived as their threshold, and it didn't create a Pakistani response. So I agree with Manpreet that we must be careful about where we think Pakistan's red lines lie. But seems to me that our strategy so far has been purely defensive. We have created a monstrous counterterrorism grid in Kashmir. We have pumped money into Kashmir to win the hearts and minds of the Kashmiris. And that has all succeeded to a certain extent. But our strategy, which has not been enunciated and which should be enunciated, has no offensive arm until Operation Sindhu, which I think is a welcome alteration, of course. The thing here, I feel, is not to be self-deterred. I know this is a very dangerous argument, and I'm fully conscious of the caution that Arun has urged us to take. Yes, we must. But at the same time, I don't think in Operation Sindoor we came anywhere near the threshold. Especially if one compares what we did in the Operation Sindoor to what the punishment that the Americans inflicted on the Pakistanis in all those 4 war games. And it didn't reach the nuclear threshold. So if we are going to be self-deterred, then all I can suggest is that we adopt what Little Heart recommended was a grand strategy. And the grand strategy, which Little Heart didn't live to see, was what was adopted by the United States when confronted by the Iron Curtain and nuclear weapons in the Soviet state. Inspired by Kennan's famous long telegram, 8,000 words and so on, they embarked on a whole government approach which lasted 45 years and resulted in the collapse of the Soviet Union. This game has this encounter with Pakistan, I see, has 2 channels. One is to follow the offensive channel to where we think Pakistan's robust nuclear threshold lies. If we feel that we are pushing the red lines too far and that we are dealing, I must warn you again that when Little Heart proposed the grand strategy, he said 2 things. One is that war should be fought only for a better peace. That's the most profound statement in that whole book, monumental work, titled Strategy. But he adds a cautionary paragraph after that, which he says, a better peace is very difficult to negotiate with fundamentalist society. So we have the option. We either choose a national security strategy or a grand strategy, or we push the Pakistani nuclear threshold to where we think it lies, and not be self-deterred in that process. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Raja sir. So now we are at 20:07. So what I'll propose is that who would like to go next? Shekhar, you or Mo, you? Accordingly, we click to the next link. I've sent you on a 2010 link, right? So once we reconvene, I think we can identify the others who would like to make their opening remarks and pick up these 2 points, Raja's point, Rajendra Menon's point about the grand strategy Can we do that when we have the kind of domestic political compulsions we do in relation to, is the preference optics or operations? We've seen that happening. So perhaps we can toss this around. So on that note, who would like to go next? Shekhar, you or AJ or Mohan Guruswamy? Shekhar, okay. What we'll do is when we reconvene, Shekhar, AJ, you want to go after that, Anil? Okay. And then I'll try and get Mohan Guruswamy on board. Tanvi,
Right,
you
sir.
can come whenever. You have the wild card. Okay. You can enter at will. So again, thanks Manpreet and Admirals Arun Prakash and Raja Menon for your remarks. There's lots here. It's not that
Do we
simple.
log out now?
Now, so what will happen is that this closes at 40 minutes. So since we have 19:30, so we will click on the second link, but at 8:10. Tanvi, you're all set for 8:10? Tanvi is giving us the entry into the second link. So we can delink
Yes.
from here one by one and come back onto the second link. Is that okay? I'll go last.
Okay. So I think we
So
should
I have
hop
got
off.
the second link, sir. I just got a mail with the first link,
Okay, I'll send you the second link right away.
sir. Sir.
I'll send the second link to AJ. AJ, I've sent it. Just confirm that you got it.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So you can leave.
Sir, yes, sir.
Sushil, thank you. I'm closing this link. Mugdha, if you're here, and I will come on to the second link.
Okay,
Sushil,
sir.
Mugdha, Monty, if you're there, I'm not sure. I'll come back. Mohan? Mohan, are you there?
I'm there, sir. I'm here.
Monty, you got the second
Monty.
link, right? You're going to come on that now. The
I've got
8:10 link.
the I've got the second link with me. I've got that
Okay,
link with
good.
me.
So you can leave this link and we'll reconvene there. Okay.
Got that.
Mugdha,
Yes.
bye. I'll take you off the second link, Mugdha. Mohan Guruswamy, bye.